Hey everyone, welcome to a new video and welcome to the grand finale of August palette month. Oh yes, today is going to be the final video that we are doing in this month in which I've been talking about nothing but eyeshadow palettes, and it is going to be my eyeshadow palette collection, as you might have already guessed from the title here above the video. So yeah, I keep my eyeshadow palettes in two of these drawers. I have quite a few, I know. This is quite ridiculous. And since I know this is going to be a long video, let's just get around to it and take you to my eyeshadow palettes. So if you saw my makeup collection video, then you know that in this third drawer here, I keep all of my drugstore and smaller eyeshadow palettes. I also have some sleek palettes. Those are on that side of the drawer, and I did a dedicated sleek makeup collection or eyeshadow palette collection video, which I will make sure to link in the eye above if you're curious to see what I have there. For now, we're just going to go through this. So the first palette I have here is the Essence My Only One eyeshadow palette, if I can get this to open. And this was an absolute dreadful palette. I tried this because I thought, hey, a colorful eyeshadow palette by Essence, wouldn't that be fun? But no, it's actually no good. These are very chalky, blend away into nothing. So right here in the back, I have some e.l.f. palettes. This is the Matte for Matte. And that's what that looks like. I put this in a under 10 euro video not too long ago. So again, I will link it in the eye right there in case you're curious. This has some nice neutral matte shades. There is nothing offensive about this palette. Do I use it a lot? Not at all. Then the other palette that I have by e.l.f. is a Prism eyeshadow. And this is, I believe, in the shade Sunset. Yeah, this is Sunset. Oops. Applicator. And these are really nice, sort of like 6 very shimmery eyeshadows. You do need to foil them, you need to put a bit of Fix Plus on them, but these shades are incredibly gorgeous. So I have a couple of stray high-end things in this. This is a palette, again, that I don't use a lot. This is a travel exclusive from Dior. I bought this because of a couple of shades in this top row right here, especially this purple with like a gold shimmer. But as you can see, this hasn't been used a whole lot, and I actually always forget that I have this. Then right here we have some Catrice. This is the Professional Artist eyeshadow palette. I was ecstatic when I found out that Catrice was going to be doing a larger eyeshadow palette. Sadly, the formula of this isn't all that great. These all muddy together, you could say. So that's a bit of a shame. This right here is a limited edition eyeshadow palette by Wet n Wild. This is the only Wet n Wild palette that I have, believe it or not. This is in the shade Boardwalk Boozing, and it's a super bright, fun eyeshadow palette. I haven't tried too many Wet n Wild eyeshadows. I definitely want to get some more of the new styles. Now, this is an eyeshadow palette that actually survived my declutter last year. I pulled this out before I got rid of everything. But this just has to go. It's broken since now. This has some very stunning, very neutral shades. This is like a dupe for MAC's Blue Brown Pigment, which is really nice. You can no longer get this. This brand is no longer for sale, and it's falling apart as we speak. So this probably should just go. Two things that I also pulled out of my declutter are the old style eyeshadow palettes by Catrice. I quite enjoyed these, especially the matte one. The rose one I wanted to keep around because I do enjoy the shades in there. Some Essence then. This is actually a face palette. This is the Glow Must Go On bronzing and highlighting palette, but if I show you the inside, then you can see why I don't use this on my face. This is much too dark. You get 3 eyeshadows and then a bronzer. The eyeshadows are pretty much all matte, and the bronzer is shimmery, which is why I put this in my eyeshadow drawer, because I felt I could use the 3 parts of the bronzer as shimmery eyeshadow. Another Essence eyeshadow palette, well, this is an eye and face palette, the Rain or Shine Color Me a Rainbow palette. And this is another one of those things that looks super cute, and then I want to try it, but then the swatches are just a bit meh. And then I go, will I ever put this on my face? I don't think so. So you have 4 very shimmery eyeshadows right here at the top. And then you have a couple of face products. You have a highlighter, you have like a setting powder, and a contour. This is like a rainbow highlight, but it doesn't really do very much. It has a couple of very interesting duochromes though at the top, which is why I bought it. It looks very cute, very nice, but again, I have yet to use this on my face. Then we have this palette, and this is the L'Oreal La Palette Nude 2. This is the rosy one, and I was completely smitten by this when I got it. This is the US version, I have to say. I also have the European version, which will be coming up next. I really liked this at the time, but I feel that by now, even in the drugstore, there are just eyeshadow palettes that are cheaper and that have better quality. This little guy right here is supposed to be the European version of that other palette, but as you can see, it's not only a lot smaller, it also has completely different shades when you open this palette up. So that's a bit of a shame, but I quite liked it. However, some of these shimmers are quite sheer. And again, as I said, like the American version of this, there are just better formulas at the drugstore. Some more Essence. I have quite a few Essence palettes because they always do these fun limited edition eyeshadow palettes, and I'm always sucked in because I like trying these out for my blog for a review. This was the Winter Dreaming eyeshadow palette, which I think came out last winter, and it's actually really stunning. This is quite a close dupe of the Urban Decay Naked 3. It has that sort of like similar vibe to it. That's definitely what they were going for, I think. And actually the brush that was in here is one that I could actually use. This was quite nice, quite lovely, but I do think that Essence was a little bit late to the bandwagon, or to hop on the bandwagon, I should say, because these kind of shades I feel have been done now so many times, so that's why I don't use this all that much. Then I also have this little My Must-Haves palette, and this is a build-it-your-own kind of palette. So you buy the palette and then you buy the individual shadows individually. These are some of the best eyeshadows that I think Essence has ever done. So these are quite nice, and I like how this is like a single look. I should perhaps put this in like a, remember to use this when I travel, because I think it will be good for that. When Essence revamped their line last spring, so for the spring-summer 2018 season, they came out with some new eyeshadow palettes, and they came out with this. This is the In Love with Rose eyeshadow palette. And again, this is quite lovely, actually. This is a very nice eyeshadow palette. The shades are really, really nice. I was able to pull out a nice look with this. It's very neutral, though, so that has to be your cup of tea. So then we have a brand new eyeshadow palette from Catrice. This is the Glitterizer Mix and Match eyeshadow palette. They were trying to dupe the Too Faced Glitter Bomb palette with this, I think. You have 4 shimmer shades in the middle, and then 2 base coats on the far left and 2 top coats on the far right. These, so far, I've played around with it a little bit, so I can't attest to the quality of this just yet. But yeah, it has some stunning shades, so especially this duochrome shade. And then I have quite a few of these newer style Catrice palettes. Again, I like buying these to try for my blog. These are only $4.99 each, so for the price point, I feel that these are pretty good. My favorite so far has to be the Modern Matte one. It's an all matte palette, and it's actually not too shabby. They also do a warm toned one, which is called the Precious Copper. The only downside to this is that it has all shimmer, so that's why I don't really use this, and a lot of these shades are very samey, so not necessarily my favorite. I also have their Essential Nude collection, which is one of the first palettes they did that had a mixture of mattes and shimmers, I think. Most of their palettes were just all shimmer before this. There's a slight sheen to these still, but this was a little too neutral. This barely showed up on me. And then this is their brand new palette. This came out just last month. This is the Blazing Bronze. And that's what this looks like. It has a couple of nice berry tones, a couple of warm tones. I put some of these on my eyes in my first impression video, and I quite liked it, but I still have to play around with this a bit more. And then we're moving on to this cubby, and this features most of my most used smaller and drugstore eyeshadow palettes. Let's start here. This was a limited edition The Body Shop eyeshadow palette for Christmas a couple of years ago. I was sent this in PR, and this is what it looks like, and I really like this. Actually, around Christmas time is when I wear this the most. Especially this pinky shade here is absolutely lovely. And then I have 2 of the Urban Decay Naked Basics. I have the 1 and 2. This is the Naked Basics 1, and this right here is the Naked Basics 2, which has to be my favorite of the 2. This is a well-loved palette, and I reach for this a lot if I just want to do like a basic look and add a bit of shimmer to the eye. Starting in the back here, we have the Beauty UK Posh eyeshadow palette. I bought this because it has a bunch of really nice purples right here in the middle. I don't reach for it a whole lot, and all of these purples go on quite samey, but I did really like the quality of this. These shimmers are really nice. A really great eyeshadow palette at the drugstore is this MUA one in Fire Vixen. If you really like your warm tones, then this is a must-have in your eyeshadow palette collection. I mean, look at that red right here in the corner. Oh, stunning. And also this bright matte orange is really nice. Has a good amount of shimmer, a good amount of mattes. You do get two very strange gray shades in here, which I don't understand, but oh well, I can forgive that because it also has all the neutrals that you pretty much need. Then we get this palette by Makeup Academy. This is the Elysium palette, and this is one of my favorite palettes for travel. The reason why this is one of my favorite travel palettes is because it's a dupe for the Naked 3. I don't like traveling with that because it's too big and bulky and I'm afraid to break it. This is cheap and cheerful, so if it breaks, I don't mind, and it has some really nice shimmer shades, and it's just a very nice palette for a basic look. I only ever use this when I travel, I never use this at home. A palette that I really like the quality of is this NYX Perfect Filter palette in Olive Hue. And this is what that looks like. These are pretty, actually not too expensive. NYX has come out with some quite expensive makeup lately, but I feel that this is still around like the $17-$17.50 mark. This has subculture vibes to me. I mean, I really like it. You get a couple of really nice cocky greens in here, which is pretty much why I bought this palette. What I do have here is a Max Factor palette. This is the Max Factor, what's it called again? The Cappuccino Nudes. I quite like the quality of this actually. It has some really nice basic shades. Again, for Christmas, if I'm traveling to see family, then this is so easy to chuck into a bag and take with me. Do I reach for this a whole lot? No, because as you will see in a minute, I have a lot of neutral palettes. So this is definitely one that I don't reach for a lot, but I do like it. Hiding a little bit there is my Milani Earthy Elements eyeshadow palette. This is one of my favorite palettes at the drugstore, and hey, hello camera. This just has a pretty decent look in a palette, and I like this for doing a warm tone neutral look. This is my NYX Ultimate Brights palette. I showed this in my colorful eyeshadow palette collection. This is a palette you need to learn how to work with it in order to really make it pop. But once you do and you figure it out, then these shades are absolutely stunning. I wish there were more true shimmers in this palette though. This all pulls very matte. Now would you believe me if I said that this was a limited edition Essence palette? Yes it was. This was for the Lights of Orient collection that they did a few years ago. And this is what the palette looks like. It has a couple of very stunning cranberry shades. It's very neutral, nothing really special, but the quality of this was exceptional. Then we have this Rimmel Magnifies eyeshadow palette. This didn't get a very glowing review for me. This was not a great palette. So I don't have too many duos. I only actually think I have these by NARS. This is the Isolde and Cordura duo. This is Cordura, which is a very nice sort of like more like darker brown with shimmer. But my favorite has to be Isolde. This is a very nice like bronzy, goldeny brown shades. I actually bought these together because they function very well together as a quad. Then we have this little guy by NYX. This is the Full Throttle eyeshadow palette. And this is what it looks like. I mainly bought it because of this like shimmery teal shade here. This is a very nice palette. I really can't fault this. Another quad that I have is this Kiko quad in 101. Color Fever quad, I think this is called. This is the quad right there. Very nice cranberry shades. I really like this. And then who remembers these? This is some old school Catrice, but I just can't get rid of this. This is an eyeshadow quad in the shade Yellow Subma Green. And it's just a very basic palette, but it has some cocky green shades and then that nice pop of yellow there. I really like this. I can declutter this because you can no longer get this anymore. And then we have this Makeup Designery quad. This is very nice and basic, very neutral matte shades that, as you can see, have gotten a lot of love because I've had this for a long time. Over on this side live all of my like luxury quads, quins, so Dior, Chanel, Charlotte Tilbury. So I'll breeze through these because most of these you can no longer get. This is the first one by Dior. This is Twilight. This was a limited edition in Graphic Lights. This pinky shade right here is absolutely gorgeous. And I have a purpley one. This is Night Butterfly. This one by Dior is Trafalgar. This is one of the newer styles ones with the slimmer packaging. So this is a 3-color eyeshadow palette by Dior in Smoky Khaki, and it slides up like that and then the mirror pops out. It's really, really fun. I mainly bought it because of this shimmery khaki shade. This is Road Movie. This was limited edition for fall last year, and I mean the teals, I just had to have it. This was also a limited edition for fall 2016. I believe this is Candor et Expérience. This was also a limited edition, sadly. This is Tissé Dimension, and this shimmery silvery shade with like a green shift to it is stunning. And this is a limited edition spring palette called Tissé Fantasy. This is Charlotte Tilbury, the Vintage Vamp. I pretty much only bust these out around the holiday season. That is Vintage Vamp. And then also have La Dolce Vita. So this is the second drawer, and this is eyeshadow palettes only, and these are mainly high-end, apart from my Makeup Revolution eyeshadow palettes right here in the corner. You will already have seen these in a video because I already used them, already did a video on all of my Makeup Revolution eyeshadow palettes, so I'll make sure to link that in the eye above. So this is the first part of my eyeshadow drawer that I'd like to show you, and we'll just start with this thing that's sticking out right here. So this is the first palette right here. This is a Marc Jacobs palette. This, I believe, is called the Starlet. This you can no longer get because it's older. The older style that they did. He came out with new palettes last year, I think. This is an all metallic eyeshadow palette, which is actually really nice, but none of these shades really go together very well, which is a bit of a shame, but the formula of this is excellent. Hiding beneath that is my newest, one of my newest additions to my eyeshadow palette collection. This is the Huda Beauty Electric Obsessions palette, and I have not even put this on my face yet. This is what it looks like. I can't wait to try it. And then also right there are my two Inglot palettes. I kind of use this as one palette. I made this in two goes though, which is why it's in two separate palettes. But these are sort of my fall winter shades, and I really like these. So this is what these two look like together. I really like this color scheme. This is like my perfect fall winter eyeshadow palette. And the first thing that's in here is the Balm Voyage. This is the volume 1, I think? Volume 2? I'm not sure. This is what it looks like. It comes with shadows and lip colors underneath this flap. I've never used the lip colors, I have to say. This isn't a color scheme I find all that inspiring anymore, but hey, another teal. Can you see a pattern? I just love teals and khaki greens and all that. These shadows don't have the best quality as well, I feel, so this isn't a palette I reach for as much as I should. This is Juvia's Place, the Nubian 2. I never bought the original Nubian because that's just too neutral. And this is what the Nubian 2 looks like if you didn't know. It has some really nice jewel tones in here, but it's overall quite neutral. But it does have a couple of fun pops of color with this green and this blue. This is the Lime Crime Venus XL palette. I had never tried anything by Lime Crime before, and despite all the controversy about the brand, I figured I wanted to try this. I thought it looked stunning. It just has all these really, really nice berry shades. This is like modern Renaissance on steroids. That's what you could call this. It has all the berries and reds that modern Renaissance doesn't have, and I will show you in a minute, but that's my favorite part about modern Renaissance are those reds and berries. So this has been very lovely, and I got lots of compliments from colleagues when I was wearing eyeshadow looks with this palette because these are shades that just suit me very well. Now, this is a Z palette that I keep all of my Makeup Geek eyeshadows in. So these are all of my Makeup Geek ones. I have all of my neutrals sort of at the top, warm tones in this corner, then we have cool tones and some pops of colors down the bottom. And this is my Z palette with ColourPop singles. I did an entire video of how I put this together, so I will link that right here in the eye if you are interested in seeing that, which shades are in here, why I like these, including some swatches. I don't have any other ColourPop eyeshadows apart from some Super Shock ones. But from the pressed formula, I just decided to build my own palette because none of the palettes that they have pre-made really tickle my fancy. Another quite a new purchase for me is Violet Voss's Hashtag palette. Again, Violet Voss is one of those brands like Lime Crime that I just wanted to try because I hear so many people raving about them, and I didn't really see a color scheme in the Violet Voss palette selection that I really liked until this came out. And this is what that looks like. I think you can guess why I got this. The row of purples at the bottom is why I got this. The golds and the coppers in these two rows are also really, really nice. Quite possibly my favorite colorful eyeshadow palette has to be the Zulu by Juvia's Place. This is what it looks like if you didn't know. I love how this is colorful with a pop of neutral rather than neutral with a pop of color. But I like this. This is both warm toned and cool toned. I like how you get a couple of colorful shimmers in here as well. More Juvia's Place. This is the Saharan palette by Juvia's. This is, again, really pretty. This is very warm toned though, but I do really like these shades. I was able to make them work, and this is a Koto shade. Stunning. I ummed and ahed so long before getting this. This is the Natasha Denona Lila palette, or Lila palette, whatever you want to call it. This is by now the most expensive eyeshadow palette that I own. This hurt a little bit when I got it. I've played around with this a little bit. I was able to pull some stunning looks out of this. I really like how you get some warm tones on this side and then your cooler and purples. It's like a gradation. It goes from cool toned into warm tones to neutrals. So I like how how the palette is laid out. This one, which I believe is called Dragon Bite, is one of the most interesting shades I've ever seen. But this is so far so good. I'm not sure yet whether I think that it's truly worth $129. This very scuffed up, banged up palette is my MAC palette. I still like MAC eyeshadows. I don't care what anybody says. But these are some of my OG shades. I mean, we have Woodwinked, we have Patina, we have Satin Taupe. All of the classics are in here. These were some of the very first high-end eyeshadows that I ever worked with. And I still love this palette. Then right here we have the Huda Beauty Desert Dust palette. If there is one palette that taught me how to combine warm tones with purples, it's this one. I think this is definitely worth the price point. This is also one of my more expensive eyeshadow palettes, you could say. The only thing I find a shame, I'm not sure if you can see that, but the packaging, it's like this like plasticky layer between the shades. It's just not stuck down very well, so I think that for 65 euros, this is just a bit of a shame. These are the Meet Matte palettes that I have. This is the Meet Matte Nude. This is Meet Matrimony, and this is Meet Matador. So these are a little bit pricey, but I do think that if you have these, you don't really need another matte palette in your life. I do have a couple more though, but I like the color scheme, especially of the Meet Matador for my skin tone. It works really well. I like the Meet Matte Nude because I can really customize shades with that. This one is my least favorite, which, shocker, I know it's most people's favorite, but this is a little bit too dark for me, the Meet Matrimony. Another very pricey palette is the Vizard or Viziard eyeshadow palette. This is in Sultry Muse. This is an old shimmer palette. This is really, really stunning, I have to say, but I don't think these are worth the price point. This is a great matte palette as well. This is the Too Faced Just Peachy Mattes, and this is what it looks like. It's a really, really stunning palette. I love the shade range in this, and despite the fact that it looks a little samey perhaps, I can get very distinct looks out of this, so I like this. The Tartelette In Bloom. This is one of my favorite neutral eyeshadow palettes. This is something that I reach for time and time again. If I don't really know what look to do, this is one of my go-to palettes. We also have here the Tartelette Toasted. This definitely has seen a little less love than the In Bloom, but that's because it's warm toned. I do think that this is sort of like the more everyday friendly version of the Urban Decay Naked Heat. Another one of my favorite palettes is this Stila Eyes Are the Window of the Spirit palette. I like this because it has everything I need for a daily look. It does have quite a bit of shimmer, I have to say, but it has Kitten, it has Pagali. I really like this gray shade at the bottom as well. Also quite new to my collection are these Dose of Colors, they're quints, I think. Yeah, there are 5 shades in each. This is the Marvelous Mauves, and I really, really like this. This is my cup of tea. And then I also have the Blushing Berries. This is a little bit dark for me. This lightest shade doesn't work on me very well as a highlight shade or anything like that, so I do have to pull in something differently. We have the Pure My Little Pony The Movie palette. So this is a palette that I really actually enjoyed, to my surprise. Pure palettes are not that expensive, and I'd never tried anything by them. I was very happy with the looks that I pulled out of this palette. This is another Inglot palette. This is my spring summer palette. This has some really pretty pastel shades. I don't have a lot of pastel eyeshadow palettes, and the reason for that is this. I really, really like this Periwinkle shade. I do have the World Traveler palette. This is one that a lot of people rave about, and I still have it. I still love it. This is a great selection of Anastasia shadows when I just wanted to try the brand to see if I like it. It has Fudge, it has Morocco, it has Pink Champagne. Everybody loved Pink Champagne back in the day. And then I have some Makeup Forever eyeshadows. This was limited edition for Christmas, I think 2 years ago. And I bought this because I wanted to try the formula, and I found out that I'm not a big fan of the Makeup Forever formula. So something I'm currently testing is some Melt eyeshadows. This is 2 stacks. I have the Rust stack and the She's in Party stack. This is the Rust stack, and I'm currently trying these out so far. I really like the blendability of these. This is very, very basic, but with some very nice warm tones. And there we have the She's and Party stack, and this is what I will be trying next. So I can't wait to try this. So this is the second part of this drawer that I'm going to be showing you. This is a Kat Von D Monarch palette. I bought this right before they discontinued it, and I was very, very lucky. I like how this has 4 quads that you can use standalone or mix them together. So you have warm tones, cool tones, and neutrals all in one palette. A very similar concept is also part of the Kat Von D Shade and Light Eye Contour palette. I got this a little bit later, which is why it's in the updated packaging, which I have to say I prefer a lot more. Yeah, again, I do really like this. I think the quality of this is excellent, but I think it's a little bit boring, and I have a lot of other matte shades that I reach for a lot more over this. We get into my little Too Faced collection here. I have the original chocolate bar, which, in case you don't know yet what that looks like, that's the one. This is my least favorite chocolate bar palette. I have to say, out of all of them, this is the one that's darkest, which is a little too dark for me. Everything I do with this is quite dark and smoky, which isn't necessarily my cup of tea. I really do like marzipan in here, as well as shapes milk chocolate and salted caramel, which is also why when I started buying these, I went for the semi-sweet first, which has sadly been discontinued. It has peanut butter, which is one of my favorite shades, but I also really like nougat. And these two golds, bonbon and caramel, are really nice, and I really enjoy rum raisin. A palette by Too Faced that not a lot of people liked was the white chocolate bar, and I understand why people don't like this, because it's very light. This is what the palette looks like. This is great though if you have fair skin like me. I like the pops of pastel that it has. It has some nice transition shades. I really like these 3 shimmers here, especially Sugared Raisin. Then we have the Chocolate Bonbons palette. I really like this. This is nice and cool toned. I like this Earl Grey shade. I like how you get these 2 really fun, bright, pinky shades as well. Sprinkles is a very fun pinky inner corner highlight. We have the Sweet Peach palette. I think this actually also has to be one of my least favorite Too Faced palettes. I do like it, don't get me wrong. I love Luscious, I love Georgia, and I really like Nectar as well. So this side of the palette I really like. I think that this is a little bit muddy. Then we have my only felt cover packaging eyeshadow palette by Anastasia. This is just the Modern Renaissance. This I love mainly because of those berry shades, as I already mentioned with the Lime Crime palette. I think it's a shame that these 2 shades are so similar. Such a shame. Tempera is nice. I really like Vermeer and Bon Fresco, and I really like Antique Bronze in here as well. We have Lorac Pro 1, which all matte, all shimmer, all Lorac palettes have that, of course. I really like this. I think this is stunning. It's a little bit deep though. So these shades, like these 6 shades at the end, they're a little bit dark. Maybe Sable and Garnet are okay, but Deep Purple, that just looks black on me. The Lorac Pro 2, I had a little bit more success with that, I have to say. I know this is not everybody's favorite, but I really like Nectar, Plum, Navy. Those are really nice. I like these shimmers on the bottom. It has a good silver. I love Jade. But my favorite of the 3 has to be the Lorac 3, because this is a fair girl's dream. I can use each shade in this palette. It doesn't muddy up on me personally. Medallion, of course, is a notoriously hard shade to work with, but I like pressing that on the lid with my finger, and then it's okay. I have first up the Nude Tude palette. This I only use for smoky eyes because it's again a little bit dark and sultry. I don't mind it though. I do really like Standoffish. This is a nice shimmery pink, and I really like Silly and Sexy in here. I also have the Nude Dude. Now, this came out around that time that the Naked 3, like all these rosy tones were super popular, and I like this as like a darker, more sultry version of the Naked 3. Especially this Fit, Firm, Flirty, and Feisty, like this quad right here in the middle. Oh, that's so stunning. And then we also have the newest version in this line. This is the Nude Beach. This is warm tones, and I also really enjoyed this. And then we have my little stack of Zoeva, or Zoeva as we would say. This is the matte palette. You have a stunning matte red, a matte orange. You get some cooler tones on this side as well. You have your neutrals. This is a stunning palette. Then we have Blanc Fusion. Lots of yellowy golds and some nice matte neutrals on the bottom. This is my least favorite of their chocolate bars. I do really like this shade here called Late Bloomer, but because it's so yellow over here, I just don't really reach for this very much. I think my favorite Zoeva chocolate bar palette is the Caramel Melange, which is this one. There you have it. It has a really nice orangey tone here. This liquid center is like the best copper eyeshadow you will ever find. Apparently I dug my nails into this once. It has some nice golds, but nothing too crazy gold. I don't like very yellow golds. This is about as yellow as I like to go. And then here we have the Cocoa Blend palette. This was of course the one that everybody raved about. You have a nice cranberry in here. This is a little bit weird to me because you get some random cool tones in here that seems a bit meh. And it's a bit dark for me personally. But that's not all. We have some more Zoeva. This is the Rose Golden palette, which nobody talks about. I actually bought this together with the Cocoa Blend, and they actually pair really well. So those two palettes complement one another very, very nicely. Can I just make a very bold statement and say that this is quite possibly my favorite Zoeva palette? This is the On Taupe. This is one that nobody talks about because it's super duper cool toned, and I think this will be muddy on a lot of people. You get some really interesting duochromes right here in the corner. You have some really nice shimmers in here, some nice mattes. I really like this. And then last but not least is the Opulence Collection palette. This came out last winter, I think. This is really, really nice, but it's just a shame that the blue didn't really work very well for me in this palette. So this is one of those palettes, neutral with a pop of blue. You get some really nice golds in here. I like this one a lot because it's a gold with that green sheen to it. I really enjoy those. We have some larger palettes in the back. The first one is the Magic palette by Juvia's Place. And this is what that looks like. It has some cool tones at the bottom and then 2 rows of warm tones at the top. I love this. This is stunning. I absolutely love this. Also in the back is the Masquerade by Juvia's Place, and this is one I haven't played around with. As you can see, it's only been swatched. I can't wait to try this a little bit more. It has some really interesting colors. Some more larger things here. This is a Primark Glitter Obsessed Eye Cream palette. I thought this was fun to try out, but it's actually not that great. And then the last palette here is this one. This is the Sephora and Pantone Universe. I keep this mostly for nostalgia. This is what it looks like. The shades in here are not the best, but they are very pretty sort of watercolor shades, you could say, very pastel. They do blend away into nothing, so they need a lot of building up for them to stick. I especially like the greens, blues, like minty greens and all that. So those were all of those palettes. If you would like to see my Urban Decay eyeshadow palette collection, then make sure you check out my Urban Decay palette video, because I will link it up here in the eye. So those were all of the eyeshadow palettes that I have in my collection. I know there's a lot here, don't judge. This is definitely something that has grown over time, and I didn't buy all of this in one go, I should say. Some of these also desperately need to declutter. So yeah, without further ado, I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you did, and subscribe because I make new videos every single Thursday and Sunday. And in September, we'll go back to a regular schedule. If you have any ideas for videos, then let me know in a comment down below. For now, I'd like to thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a great day. Bye!